So hello my friends, Devaun Lennox here, PhotographyPX. In today's video, I want to answer whether the Fujifilm X-T200, which I have right here, is the ultimate vlogging camera at the $800 USD price point. In short, yes, I believe the X-T200 is another one of the contenders at this particular price point to consider if you're looking for a dedicated camera for vlogging, but a camera that's also relatively portable, lightweight, easy to use, and offers excellent video-centric features. In this video, I will give you guys our perspective on how PhotographyPX defines vlogging cameras, and we'll also cover the most important factors that we believe are important. Additionally, you can also find timestamps in the description box down below to skip to a more relevant section if you'd like. With those out of the way, let's first define a vlog camera and the things that you may want to consider and look into beforehand. This is a comprehensive list, so consider skipping this section if you're already familiar with these kind of factors. But first and foremost, you'll want a camera that's lightweight and portable. And weight is arguably the most important factor above all else. If you plan on recording traveling vlog videos, you'll be holding the camera handheld at arm's length for somewhere between 5 to 15 minutes. Holding a camera in this position for this long will cause arm strain and will likely become uncomfortable. And it only worsens if the cameras are heavy. For that reason, you want a portable and lightweight camera to reduce the arm strain when filming this type of content. In general, somewhere under 500 grams. The next factor is field of view. When recording handheld, the lens you use determines how you're going to frame your vlog, but it also changes the audio quality. If you plan on doing handheld vlogs, a 20 to 24 millimeter lens is best, so you can hold the camera at a comfortable distance away without overexerting yourself. This focal length is also great because you can also get your surroundings and your environment in the frame, plus you're close enough to the built-in microphones, which are right here, so that the audio should sound relatively crisp and clear. The next factor is stabilization. Stabilization of some form is critical for vlog videos since most are handheld. Stabilization comes in two forms, either optical or digital, but both forms help the camera reduce handshake to create shake-free videos by counteracting movement. However, not all cameras offer built-in stabilization in the form of electronic stabilization. In those cases, you'll want to find an optically stabilized lens instead. But without either of these two forms, your videos will be too shaky and disorienting to watch. So a great stabilization system is a must, particularly if you plan on doing handheld vlogs rather than using a tripod. The next factor to consider is audio quality, which is equally as important as video quality. If your voice is muffled or drowned in background noise, it'll turn off your viewers and they'll lose interest in your video. So clear audio is key. Now, if you're a beginner, most of the built-in microphones on today's current cameras produce excellent audio quality. So as long as you're less than 2 feet away from the front of the camera, you'll be okay. But eventually you'll want to upgrade your quality and your content. And in those cases, an external microphone input is key. With an external microphone input, you can attach external microphones or lavaliers to the camera and significantly improve your video quality. So a camera with a microphone input is a long-term must. The next factor to consider is low light performance and the camera's automatic exposure system. When vlogging, you're likely to film in changing lighting conditions or move from inside to outside. And you want a camera that can properly expose the video as you change between environments so that you remain consistently bright throughout the entire video. As such, the camera should have metering settings that help to ensure your face stays evenly exposed. And it should also provide sharp noise-free videos when shooting in lower lit scenes, such as bars or sunsets or inside. The next factor is the video quality and the overall capabilities. Most cameras today offer 1080p 60 frames per second video as standard, and this is a great option for most beginning content creators. But if you want to future-proof your creations, look for options that offer 4K video. With 4K, you can downsample later in post-processing and have sharper videos. Next, the camera's displays. The camera's displays are paramount when it comes to vlogging cameras, and in our opinion, a front-facing tilt above the camera display is the best option. The reason here is that this is ultimately best because you have to look higher above the lens and doing so helps get more light into your eyes and also gives you a more flattering look to your viewers. And it's also not immediately apparent to your viewers that you're checking various camera settings throughout your video or your framing. Otherwise, a fully articulating side hinge screen is also a great option, but looking off to the side is noticeable during video recordings. The last set of factors to consider are autofocus, general connectivity, and the camera's battery life. Most modern cameras released in the last 3 to 4 years have excellent autofocusing capabilities with recent innovations such as face and eye detection. These particular modes are all excellent, and the differences between most of the actual manufacturers and camera bodies are negligible in the real world. As such, if you're getting a modern camera, expect the autofocus to be excellent for vlogging and confident. You should not have any issues in changing lighting conditions or backlit scenes with most new cameras. Next, battery life and connectivity. Most cameras also have Bluetooth and Wi-Fi connectivity as mostly standard. These features allow you to connect the camera to a smartphone or a tablet so you can directly transfer footage on the go and share it immediately online. Many cameras also give you the option of sharing lower resolution videos, making the process even more seamless. For battery life, expect somewhere around 60 to 90 minutes of continuous recording when shooting in 1080p. 90 minutes is typically a standard for most compact mirrorless cameras and an excellent starting point. However, if you plan on shooting in 4K, expect only 30 minutes for most mirrorless cameras, so it's wise to get a spare battery. You may also want to consider some other general factors that will depend on how you plan on using the camera for vlogging. These will include time-lapse and super slow motion video. Not all cameras offer these particular features, so it could be a deciding point when looking at two options. But with those out of the way as ideals, how does the Fujifilm X-T200 stand up? And how does it perform across these markers and standards? Well, first and foremost, at 370 grams, including battery and SD card, it's lighter than the original X-T200 and incredibly compact. Even so, Fuji's paid attention to the fine details, and the camera does have a very comfortable thumb rest and a front grip. And while not pocketable per se, this camera is exceptionally lightweight considering its ergonomics and overall form factor. So for vlogging handheld, this camera will cause little fatigue over a 10 to 5 minute period. Next, the lens. This is an interchangeable mirrorless camera, so you can attach whichever ones you'd like to change your framing accordingly. But when vlogging, I've used the 10 to 24 millimeter f4 Fujinon lens, which has optical stabilization, and this combination works extraordinarily well. That lens in particular offers a 16 to 35 millimeter equivalent, which gives you plenty of freedom in composing your videos. Next, the X-T200 does have electronic stabilization, which works well, but like all electronic stabilization systems, it works by cropping into the frame, changing the focal length of the lens you have attached. I initially did a test with the 24mm f2.8 lens, and that extra crop made it difficult to frame our video. But with that said, the stabilization system does work incredibly well, and I'm overall surprised with the stabilization on this camera. So in general, if you have a wider focal length lens that doesn't have optical stabilization, you can still use the electronic stabilization system and get reliable videos. Outside of that though, the X-T200 also offers a microphone input, which is right here, and it also comes with a USB-C adapter that connects right here and gives the camera a headphone output, a rare feature in this class. The headphone output allows you to monitor the recorded audio to avoid distractions and clipping during your videos. For low light performance, the camera offers an APS-C size sensor, and when using face and eye detection, you can set the metering to adjust based on the subject's face, which is nice. And overall, low light performance on this camera is excellent. The metering also works well in changing in tricky lighting conditions. And the next area the X-T200 also excels is that it shoots 4K video at 30 frames per second at 100 megabits per second to the highly web-friendly MP4 format. The camera also records fully uncropped 4K video by oversampling from a 6K readout. With that, even shooting in 1080p produces extremely sharp and sometimes over-sharpened footage. But this is a nice bonus because it provides more detail even when you're recording strictly 1080p. The X-T200 also offers some advanced video-centric features, namely focus peaking and magnification. Additionally, the camera also offers an HDR movie mode, which creates HDR movies in camera for better dynamic range. It's a helpful option when shooting outdoors. Next, it does have a fully articulating touchscreen, and at 3.5 inches, it's one of the largest touchscreens in the entire segment. The touchscreen is also incredibly responsive, bright, and easy to use. Fuji's also optimized the camera's menus and interface to support full touch navigation, which works well. So if you're a beginner, you'll likely have little difficulty navigating this camera, but I do want to say the menus do have a lot of settings. So if you are a beginner, there will be a steep learning curve with this camera. Thankfully, the manual on this camera does offer a lot of insight into what the particular functions do and their best practices. Lastly, autofocus, connectivity, and battery life. Autofocusing performance on this camera is the best Fuji offers outside of the flagship X-T4, the new XS10, the X Pro 3, and soon the XH2. The face and eye detection are both excellent and responsive. It's not necessarily class leading compared to equivalent Sony or Canon systems, but even so, for vlog videos, it works great and it's consistent, which is what you're looking for. For connectivity, this camera does have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connectivity, and the Fuji Camera Remote app works well. It's easy to connect to, and transferring photos through the app or the camera works well. So there's also plenty of versatility on that front because you can change between the camera or your app. The battery life on this camera, however, is about average compared to other mirrorless cameras. So expect somewhere between 45 to 90 minutes of video recording, depending on whether you're shooting 4K or 1080p. The slight downside with this camera ultimately that I've seen is that the user interface and menus do have a lot of settings. So if you're a beginning vlogger, you'll have to overcome some of the interface, and there will be a learning curve. The settings are consistent and well named, and they're easy to find. But again, beginner users will have to read the manual before mastering this camera, and it will take some time to do that. Thankfully, most of the features that this camera offers that are advanced are on the photography side rather than video. But even so, there are still a lot of settings on this camera, and there's a lot of features on this camera. So that may be the initial downside. But let's conclude with my final verdict. I do believe the Fujifilm X-T200 is an excellent vlogging camera, and it's also a camera that PhotographyPX has recommended highly for this kind of content and this kind of application. It ticks a lot of boxes and has very few minimal flaws in the grand scheme. It's not particularly the most affordable camera for this kind of application, but if your budget allows this camera, it's definitely a worthy consideration. But there you have it, my friends. There is my perspective and my insight on whether I believe the Fujifilm X-T200 is the ultimate vlogging camera. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, or feel like I've overlooked something in the course of this video, let me know down below. Also, while you're down in the description box down below, we've launched a new brand called pxpresets.com. PX Presets is going to be your next one and only stop for Lightroom presets until we launch Photoshop and other platform presets. But here you can find both desktop and mobile presets to get you started in a variety of different mediums more powerfully and upgrade your imaging and take your images to the next level. That link to pxpresets.com will be in the description box down below. Please check that out if you're in the market for some exciting Lightroom presets. But until next time, my friends, I've been your host, Devaun Lennox. I will see you in the next video.